Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ellen Red. I am an ascension guide, a spiritual teacher, an enlightenment coach, twin flame coach, and I am here to talk about the issue of the twin flame union cult that was recently talked about on Netflix. I really actually kind of having a hard time with this video right now because I'm so extremely upset with what happened. And it's not that it's new to me. Those of you that have followed me know that I talk all the time about the false light agents who are hijacking the ascension codes, the twin flame codes, the spiritual codes, and they're trying to use them in a 3D perspective in a way that's going to benefit themselves, as opposed to actually truly being initiated by the spiritual order in the higher realms. It's very complicated for somebody who hasn't gone through initiation to understand. And sometimes there's people out there that are hearing the information that somebody like myself is talking about, and then they repeat the language because they think that they understand it, even though they haven't fully activated it or embodied it in their own soul body. It's very difficult when it comes to spiritual subjects to be able to differentiate between somebody who's a false light agent or a false prophet versus somebody who's a real teacher, because the false prophets take the same words and use the same words, and they actually have truth and true meaning to them. But the false agents are actually perverting them and distorting them and twisting them to fit their own egoic narratives. And we see this time and time and time again with cults, which is what we're talking about today. So bear with me as I move through this video. I'm going to be spitting some holy fire because I am actually really extremely infuriated with this situation. It's constantly interfering with the process of planetary ascension. Honestly, that's the same thing that happened during Christ's timeline, that Jeshua or Yeshua, Jesus, tried to bring forth holy information from the higher dimensions, and it was perverted and distorted during his timeline also, and it prevented the ascension from happening during that timeline when it was originally supposed to happen. And here we are again, reliving this same type of scenario, where in certain ways, a lot of people want to say, oh, we're all ascending. In some ways, we're actually going backwards again. And we're really trying to avoid that from happening. But here we are facing the same type of distortions, false prophets, false agents who are coming in, taking all of the terms, glorifying themselves, using egoic structures to make tons and tons of money. Most of the true prophets are not making money like that. We're just getting by. But the fake ones are actually using multi-level marketing processes to grow themselves in it. It's really not in alignment with source. So that's one of the ways that you can tell that it's a false prophet. If they're using multi-level marketing in their works, you should run. You really should. The problem is that now we have a lot of people, and especially since this Netflix video and the video that's come out on Prime about these people in the twin flame community is going to turn a lot of people off from the true knowledge of the twin flames, which is so highly sacred. It's really one of the most sacred parts of ascension. It's the key to eternity, really. And here we are dealing with false prophets again, blaspheming the true teachings, corrupting the community, and at the same time that they're negative for doing this, they're playing out a very, very negative role. In some ways you could say, well, it's a positive thing, because the people who bought in to their false program needed the soul lesson, and they needed to be able to see the difference between what's false and what's not. And that's true. There's some truth in that. The people that fell for it, well, they needed the soul lesson. There's truth in that. How else will they be able to discern the difference between somebody who is a false prophet versus somebody who's not? So I want to go over a little bit of the situation and just kind of cover some of what is talked about in the documentary for any of you that can't get a hold of it or that haven't watched it yet, and try to help you guys break through the difference between cults and actual true teachers, because this happens a lot in religions. People will go to church and they'll get religious wounds because the person that they're listening to in the church isn't truly illuminated. And so they're repeating what they've read out of the Bible or out of some other teaching. And they're actually creating energetic distortions that harm the soul inside the being that's trying to find God. And they're going to church thinking that that's the place to find it, because there's a lot of good in churches. They're still good there. And they're causing a wound in that person that causes the person to then turn from God because they got wounded by the person that was presenting the information. Cult leaders or false prophets are exactly the same thing. And you could even say that a lot of religious groups are cults because they're doing the same things over and over and over and over again, all in the name of God. And you have to be able to understand the difference. Twin flames, again, are a very, very, very real thing. They have to do with your multidimensionality, and you're not going to meet a twin flame until you first meet God, which means that you have to go through ascension and return to source in order to find that highest part of yourself and therefore God, in order to go through enlightenment and evolve into twin flame union. There is so much garbage out there in the twin flame community, partially and mostly because of false twin flame teachers like the twin flame universe people, twin flame universe. I think I said twin flame union before, but it's twin flame universe, Jeff and Sheila, or whatever her name is. And by the way, for those of us that are true twin flames, we've known that those guys were frauds for many, many, many years, ever since they've been around. And there's really not a lot that we can do about it at this point, because it's hard to prove what's true and what's not true when it comes to the spiritual world. And so again, they're taking the language of the true way showers and key holders and master key holders, and they're distorting and perverting it. And the spirit guides also want me to tell any of you out there who are listening to this that are true key holders that we need to protect the keys very, 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 very much so right now. My guides have been telling me this for over a year or two now, and it's caused me to pull back. In fact, Jeff and Sheila and the Twin Flame Universe people, they really did so much destruction, even to my own groups, Twin Flame Initiates, and my page Twin Flame Initiates, that I stopped teaching in those groups and pages because there's too many false prophets out there, and there's too many fake twin flames out there that are creating so much destruction that I was called to call back my energy and to withhold on teaching anything else, because it's getting too corrupt. The whole scenario is becoming too corrupted, and it's getting distorted, and it's really, really, really convoluted. And so perhaps in time things will start to clear out a little bit more, and we'll be able to disseminate more of the false ones, and then we can step in and bring a little more knowledge to those that are ready for it. However, in the meantime, it's really important that we hold the keys close to our vest, and that we're very, very, very careful with who and what we share, because the damage that is being done, especially just from this one situation with Twin Flame Universe, and the damage that they did to the people, to the collective, to the term twin flame, to the term twin flame ascension, to any spiritual teachers out there, is so destructive. It's literally created a black hole in the universe, a very big one, a very big rip in the universe that they've created that's going to take a lot of work to heal now. It's huge. It's so huge. If you all just understood what just happened, it's phenomenally, astronomically damning to the ascension process. And I'm not here to bring, fear and terror and all this, but I'm here to tell you the truth. And, I know that in the spiritual community, yes, we are all one. And yes, we are all hopefully at some point going to be ascending. But you have to understand that some beings are light years, lifetimes ahead of others in evolution. And so although we're one, we're definitely not the same. There's a huge difference between a person who's in their third density consciousness and somebody who's enlightened. You're talking about layers and dimensions of closeness to God, returning back to God through multiple dimensions. It's extraordinary if you could just understand. And so, yeah, there is a difference between a false prophet and a truly illuminated being. And I know that's hard for people to hear because everybody wants to be illuminated and everybody wants to be a twin flame. If you're not there yet, you're not there yet. And you have to do the work to understand why you're not there yet. So I want to go through, I'm sorry, I'm very fueled by this situation. I am fueled by it, and I'm trying not to be enraged. I put this fiery picture of twin flames back here because we're on fire over the atrocity of these false agents taking the sacred teachings, distorting them and perverting them for personal gain, as opposed to a true teacher who, yes, may still charge you to get access to their time and energy, because they would either be doing that or they'll be working at some other job and then they won't have time to assist you. There's still a need for that, unfortunately. Most guardians would love to do all of this for free all day long if we actually had the means to sit back and do it freely. But nonetheless, there's a huge difference between that and these multi-level marketing fraud cults. And so I wrote some notes so that I could kind of keep myself on track, because I knew that I was going to be very upset and fueled during this video for you guys. And I want to try to stay a little bit on track here for you, because again, I just want you guys to understand it. Those that have followed me understand that I have talked about this for years and years and years. I'm constantly talking about the false light agents. I'm talking about the demonic entities that host these beings, host demonic entities inside their bodies, and those demonic beings are trying to steal the teachings. They're trying to steal the codes to ascension, to glorify themselves in a demonic way in this physical world, as opposed to actually knowing how to get back to God and leading you there. That's really what ascension's about. It's about helping you through the matrix to get back to God, and you can't get there if you're following false teachers. This cult, Twin Flame Universe, Jeff and Sheila, and I watched the whole documentary and I saw a lot of stuff that they did there. I've also watched them over the years. They've used very aggressive tactics to go into my groups and to try to funnel people out of there. And they teach, and if you watch the Netflix documentary, you'll see that they actually got other people to lie about being twin flames, and to try to make it seem glamorous, and to try to make it seem like they got into union because of this couple, Jeff and Sheila, which is absolute utter bullshit. If anybody tells you that they can guarantee that they're going to get you into a twin flame union, you need to run the other direction. There is absolutely no way that somebody can guarantee you that, because the journey of the twin flame is so extraordinary. We're overcoming thousands and thousands of years of soul oppression and soul distortion and past life healing and timeline healing and Akashic healing and karmic healing and all kinds of other things. Some twin flames are not alive. Some of them are disabled and they cannot come into physical union. And it has really very little to do with that. The journey itself has to do with the soul and the alchemy of the soul. And so anybody that tries to promise you that is a liar, and you need to run, number one. But of course, a lot of what these guys did was, it's just endless what I saw in this Netflix documentary. And I want to tell you also that what brought me to the attention of this is that I started getting attacked in my pages and groups, on my twin flame page and groups, by strangers online. And I started thinking, what is going on? Did somebody make some negative video, or that, like, what is causing all of a sudden people to start calling me a cult? And so that's when I discovered that there was this Netflix documentary that came out, and that it was about Jeff and Sheila, who I knew years and years ago were false agents. There's many, I would say 95% of them out there are false, and there's a handful of real ones, and there are real ones. There are real ones, and that's what you need to know, is that there are real ones, but the majority of them are fake frauds. And I want all of you who are following me to please notify me if you notice that somebody's fraudulently teaching out there, because I want to ban them from every single page and every group and every platform that I have, because I never want them to access any of my energy or my knowledge or my teachings. I have to be very careful about this. This is what my guides have asked of me for these reasons, because the harm that they've done now to the whole collective, the whole entire world now, is damaged because of them. And it doesn't mean that we can't overcome it. It doesn't mean that each soul who needs to use discernment to see the difference has the opportunity to do that. Of course they do. But it just means that there's that much more gunk to have to move through now when it comes to the twin flame journey or spiritual healing or spiritual teachers or whatever else, because of demonic beings like this who bragged about having Porsches and multi-million-dollar homes. Most of the rest of us who are real wayshores have slept in our cars for years and suffered to try and sacrificed everything we had to help humanity, just so that we could put it out there so that assholes like that could steal it. It's disgusting, and I'm entirely infuriated by it. And I'm not going to give my energy or my power to them, but I can promise you that that really causes me to need to withdraw my own work and my own teachings and to protect it more. And I'm sorry to everybody that's trying to get there, but I have to do what's best for me and what my guides asked me to do because of the whole collective, to prevent this kind of harm from happening. So I just want to go through some of the stuff that I wrote about in relation to the documentary and some of the things I witnessed there that were obviously, complete issues related to cults and how you can notice it's a cult. Well, this man, Jeff, if you just watched him, he was constantly talking down to people all the time. A true spiritual healer is never going to do that with you. They're going to lift you up. They're going to lift you up, and they're going to help you find the God seed within yourself, the aspect of you, that divine spark inside of you that is a part of God. They're not going to beat you down and make you feel like they're less than them. So you need to be watching that for sure. They of course steal the codes, and that also means that they're stealing words, keywords, to try to hook you in. So they're using divine mate and union this and divine masculine and la-di-da-di-da, and most of it's utter bullshit, because these people don't understand the difference between diabolical and divine. And there's a huge difference, and the soul has to go through the whole evolution to get to the divine part of themselves. That's what enlightenment's about. It's about you growing out of this diabolical third dimensional self, going through all of these soul experiences to get you to where your soul finally reaches its divinity. That's what enlightenment's about. And these people steal the words to try to make themselves sound fancy. There's so many of these online. And then they really have no idea energetically what it really means. So that's what you really need to watch for. Don't get so hooked on some of these fancy words. Pay attention to the energy and to what the person's actually saying and how they're treating other people. So they're stealing terms to lure people in. They're hijacking the codes. They're total and complete frauds. They're promising that they can get people into union, which is absolutely abhorrent to try to say that you can do that. They started forcing people to become twin flames, meaning that they're saying, this is your twin flame, and I'm going to put you guys together so I can show everybody that I got people into union. Total and utter bullshit, completely desecrating the holy union, which takes eons of time twin flame pair to actually come together and to be joined in this physical world, even energetically, is extraordinary. And there isn't anybody on this planet that can get you two to come together. Even me, teachers like me, the only thing we can do is try to help you heal your own soul and connect with your own soul and connect with God and heal out some of the old energies that you have that are blocking you. Yes, we can help with some of that, but we cannot promise you divine union. Divine union is orchestrated by God only, by God and your two high souls, masculine and feminine. So promising that they can bring you together and promising that they can put two twin flames together is complete, just horrific what they've done. They also led people to believe that they were men when they were women, or that they were women when they were men, causing gender dysphoria for people because they wanted so desperately to be in their twin flame union. They mind fucked people. They mind manipulated people. They psychologically abused people. They abused people financially. They took their money, tens of thousands of dollars that they took into their coaching program to teach them nothing but bull. And that harms people so much that when they want to go and work with a real teacher again, they're wounded, and then the real teacher can't get through to help them either. So it's very, very destructive on a very large scale. I'm sure most of you understand that. In some ways, again, I have to put some of the responsibility back on the people that bought into the programs themselves, because those people were getting their egos fed on, because in some regards they wanted to believe the lie. They wanted to believe that pretty little lie that if you just pay 10 grand for this workshop or 20 grand for this workshop, that you're going to be able to be in divine union with somebody, and that you're going to be able to bypass all of the lifetimes of hard soul lessons that true twin flames have had to go through. And it is completely and utterly blasphemous. I'm trying really hard to keep my peace as I go through this, because I am mortified and upset at every single false light agent that there is out there. And the longer that I continue to do this work, the more my fire burns to work against the dark forces that are hijacking the codes for various reasons. I want to also talk about the fact that they exposed people to obviously wrong mates, which can damage the soul extraordinarily, and it can take years and sometimes decades to heal the energy of being engaged sexually or in a love union with somebody who is really you're not in love with. And they did do that, and they lured them to believe that that was their twin flame, and that they had to have sex with them, and that they had to give them sex, forcing a lot of women into feeling, and maybe even men into feeling, that they were expected to have sex because it was their twin flame. And I can assure you that just because it's a twin flame does not mean that you have to have sex with them at all if you don't feel like it. That's not what the twin flame union is about at all. Yes, it's an alchemical union, and yes, it's a sex energy union on a spiritual level, but you are never expected to have sex with anybody, not even your twin flame, if you don't want to and you don't feel right about it. And you should never, ever, ever let anybody make you feel that that's the case. So again, the damage that they did to air, and I don't even know how many thousands of people that they probably worked with. And I'm sorry to all of those people, except what were you thinking? Because there were a lot of us out there trying to teach you not to. And I'm sorry, it's not your fault, but we've been trying, some of us, and I know because I myself have been trying so hard to speak reason into the community. And yet people went over there. In the masses, they went over there. They don't listen to the people that tell the truth, because the truth is harder, isn't it? It's harder to think that maybe you have to spend a lot of years by yourself. Twin flame union isn't about coming together and having sex. That's not what the union is about. It can happen, it can, but that's not what it's about. It's so much more important of a journey. I'm sorry. It's just some of us have been doing the work for decades trying to help you guys not go that way, and then people went that way, and it's very, very, very upsetting. So anyway, they led them into having sex, which in a sense is forced. It's almost like rape. You're leading them into believing that they have to open themselves to somebody energetically that is their twin flame, when it's actually nothing of the sort. And if you don't think that there's demonic entities in the background having a lot of fun with that, then you better think again, because that's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. Those beings work for demonic entities. That's the truth. And unfortunately, everybody that went that direction and that followed that path and that fell into the trap, fell into demonic energies. Now there's a lot of cleanup to do, isn't there? I'm sorry. I'm trying the best I can to get through this. Another thing that they did is that they led people to feel like if your family members make you feel a certain way, you should get away from them because it's negative and nobody needs that negativity, right? And how many times have I said this in the spiritual community, time and 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 time again, that you're not illuminated if you think that you need to cut your family out of your life. Because yes, in rare occasions, you may have to. In rare occasions, there may be somebody that did a lot of damage, like a father aping with an R, a child. Yeah, that I would cut them out of my life too. At least keep a very big boundary there. But the truth is that if you're really going back to source, a lot of the work that we're doing, twin flames particularly, is we're healing our genetic lines. We're healing the genetics and the DNA and the family lineages in our family lines. So to try to say to somebody to cut out their family because that's how you get to twin flame union is also a big fat lie. And that's a big lie that a lot of people in the false light community are passing around. And it really is sickening. Again, the whole sex thing, teaching them that they had entitlement to the other person's body, which is definitely not how twin flames operate at all whatsoever. We're connected energetically, but we always have the right and the free will choice to say yes or no at any moment in time. And there isn't a way in hell that a divine mate would force themselves on another person or feel that they're entitled even to their twin flame that way. That is demonic. That's called possession. I hope that this is helping whoever it's meant for, because I'm having a difficult time trying to get through it because I'm so upset and I'm trying to contain my rage. These people are obviously extreme liars. They're very good at distorting the words and using the words to manipulate people. And it's so easy for the 3Ders, if you will, to become manipulated because a lot of them are desperately needing the light. They're hungry for the light. And we are here to bring the light to you. But the light isn't what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. And if you're not willing to face some of the bitter truths that are going to lead you there, then you're never going to get there. So if you're running from people that tell you the cold hard truth, then you're running right into the lap of the demonic entities that dangle the cute, shiny little gold-plated turd. And that's exactly what these people are. And it's exactly what they dangled in front of all of the people that bought into it. And it's quite tragic. And again, I'm not victim blaming anybody, but I am saying that the souls that went into that had apparently a soul lesson that they needed to learn there, because how else are they going to be able to know the difference? So perhaps their souls chose to go that route so that they could learn the difference, and a painful lesson it is, yes. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people that got severely harmed, including somebody that committed suicide. And whether that's attributed to these people or not is up to the divine and the divine only. But it sure looks like they were affected quite detrimentally because of the psychological abuse of this couple. It's very demonic again to lead people to think that they have to give up their sexuality to somebody. And the harm now that happened to a lot of the people that were in this group because of that, I can't even imagine. One person even got gender reassignment surgery. Their family doesn't think it would have ever happened had they not been psychologically abused in this situation. So, and again, trying to take this person, that person, and pair them together as twin flames, as if it's really that easy. I mean, in some ways, it's really extremely ignorant to think that it's going to be that easy. But these people are vulnerable because they're looking for love. They're looking for love and they're looking for God. And they fell into this because of that. And I'm sorry for everybody and for their families that had to go through this. Okay, another thing that they did that I wanted to point out also so that you guys can pay attention to this because you're probably going to see some of this down the road is that they caused these people to pursue twin flames. So now you know, if anybody's been in the twin flame community for a long time, now you know where a lot of that nonsense came from, where people were acting like psychotic stalkers pursuing twin flames by any means necessary came from these people. Can you imagine having somebody stalk you and demand that they're your twin flame when you don't feel it, and then not being able to get them to go away because they have been told that they have the right to pursue you eternally because you're their eternal mate? Completely demonic again. They caused one woman to end up in jail, and I'll let anybody that wants to watch the documentary watch it. I'm not going to tell you every detail of it, but it's pretty horrific. And again, perverting the sacred. Another thing that they did was implanted false memories. That's a very common thing for demonic entities to do, is to implant things into your mind. That's where we get negative alien implants from. So of course they're working for dark forces. Um, it's just horrific. Okay, I think that that's the gist of what I wanted to go over as far as what they did so that you can kind of understand, the depth and the depravity of the type of people that these guys are. Again, they've been around for quite a while, and I myself have had quite a lot of issues with them in my groups where I've blocked them and blocked all of their coaches, which are actually twin flame coaches that they coached in their false program. So if you're out there looking for guidance, I would be extremely careful. I would be extremely, and I've told you guys this, anybody that's been following me, I've been telling you this for decades, that you need to be careful about this because there are tons and tons and tons of frauds out there. Most of the teachers out there are frauds on twin flames. Most of them are, because it's a very small number of souls that have actually gone through enlightenment and divine union. It's a very sacred thing. It's highly, highly sacred. So it has to do with being initiated. That's how I came up with the term twin flame initiates. It has to do with spiritual rites of passage that's in dimensions far beyond this one. And until that happens, you're not there. And it's almost impossible to describe to you guys the difference. So nonetheless, the problem that we have now as a collective in this subject, ascension and twin flames, is that now a lot of people who weren't aware of what a twin flame was they're only aware of the dark side of things now, of the false prophets, of the wannabe gurus, the wannabe twin flames, the wannabe gurus, those who stole the holy throne from the true inheritance of it. And it's beyond blasphemous. It is one of the most unholy things that somebody could do, is to put themselves out there as a teacher on a subject that they truly do not have a divine right to teach, which comes only from God. And the only way that any of you are ever going to be able to fully understand it is, one, to continue to check with your own soul. Never let anybody tell you how or what to think. If you are truly called into the twin flame journey, you're going to be spiritually led every step of the way. And you'll be led even to work with people if you're led to work with them, if your guides want you to do that. But you need to be sure that you're checking with your soul and that it's not your ego that's talking to you. That's the problem, is that all of these people were letting their ego talk to them. Their ego wanted to hurry up and have their quick lover and their quick fix and be this twin flame coach and make all this money and be just like Jeff and Sheila, right? I can assure you that the true journey, there's nothing glorious or glamorous about sleeping in your car for decades, for years, for months, about suffering, about dragging yourself through the mud time and time again to purify yourself, all while the 3D world runs and parties. The true journey of enlightenment is gruesome, it's grueling, and it's painful, and it's year upon year upon year upon year upon year of having to peel away aspects of yourself that are impure. Many of the spiritual teachers who teach on these subjects now have suffered more than most of humanity all put together. And there isn't anything glamorous about that, except for the fact that they have a true passion to align with source. And that means if source tells you that you need to go and live in your car, you're going to do it because source is telling you to do it. And yeah, source may tell you to do that because there may be a reason that you need to go through a transition or a metamorphosis. There isn't anything glamorous about that. So when you look at these teachers and they all look glamorous and glorious, be careful. What was their background? How did they get there? What do they know about the spiritual world? And be careful, because some of them are very good at stealing the codes from the true way showers. I'm sorry, guys. I'm tired of talking about this stuff over and over and over because it's so upsetting, but it continues to go on. This is exactly why ascension didn't happen in the timeline of Jesus, and it was supposed to. That was a timeline that humanity was supposed to ascend, and it didn't happen. Why? Because of this. Jealousy from those who are not illuminated, that became jealous over those that are and wanted to steal the throne. It's really the story of the two sons of the king, isn't it? Just like Christ and Satan, isn't it? It's the same story over and over and over. One wants the throne, one didn't earn it. You'll never get there unless you get there the right way. And that's just the truth. It sounds cold and hard, but that's the truth, and that's what's going on. So anyway, I'm going to be probably bitching and moaning about this in the future, not because I want to give a lot of energy to it, but because I really need you guys to understand how important it is to know the difference. Just pay attention. Just really pay attention. You're going to feel the energy of true twin flames. You're going to feel the vibration. They're not going to be cursing at you, yelling at you, putting you down, degrading you, telling you how stupid you are, telling you that you have to do for them and do for them and do for them. They may set boundaries for themselves, so you better believe that they will. They have very much a duty to do that. They're not going to be putting you below them. That's not the way. That's not the way. That's not the guardian way. Anyway, If you guys haven't watched it, go watch it. And make sure that you're very careful, because the same people that run that organization also have about 15 or more other organizations in their name. And again, they make it look very glamorous. They've done a great job of marketing themselves. They make loads of money so they can afford lots of big time marketing. And it sells, doesn't it? Lies sell. The beautiful lie sells, doesn't it? The cold hard truth doesn't so much. So maybe pay attention to that a little more in the future. And sorry to everybody that got hurt by it, which is all of us. But don't let this take away your truth, because now again we have a lot of people that are attacking every single twin flame page and group out there, because they think that all twin flames are liars and frauds. And that's where the true sin is, isn't it? That's where the true sin is. So anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Namaste.